Hey there, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Games and Writers. My name is Craig A. Hart, your host, and today I have Tricia Anderson on the show. Tricia lives in Iowa with her husband and her 3 children. She graduated from the University of Iowa with a Bachelor of Arts in English and from Kirkwood Community College with an Associate of Arts degree in Communications Media Public Relations. For the past 5 years, Tricia has been a member of Hard Drive Performance Center in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. She has experience in kickboxing, currently trains in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Even though she's never competed in an MMA cage, she's witnessed and been part of a fighter's journey from fight camp to their walk to the cage. And if you're wondering what kind of stuff Tricia writes, this is straight from her website. If you're searching for romance, look no further. If you want sexy werewolves, sultry gods, big bad Irishmen, sweet fighters, hot bad boys, a little history, or knights in shining armor, you'll find it here. Tricia, welcome to the show.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good. We were chatting just before the recording that we're trying out new software and whatnot, so I appreciate you being the guinea pig for this whole thing.
I'm okay with that.
Good. It wouldn't make any difference anyways.
That's right. Yeah. So you're still doing it anyway.
So tell us a little bit about your journey to becoming a writer. Now, was that something that developed early on or something that bloomed later in life, as they say?
Well, I've been writing since I was pretty much like, pardon the Iowa phraseology, knee-high to a grasshopper. And I would write little things for my parents and friends and stuff. And after my 2 sons were born, I wrote a kid's book called The Peculiar Princess. And my husband helped me search for a publisher or an agent, because at that time, that's what happened. And we couldn't find one. So we just stopped. But I kept writing. And then I think it was about 2012, my oldest son was talking to a friend at school, and they had brought up CreateSpace. And I went through it and I searched, and my first book ever actually published was Peculiar Princess. Oh, okay. And about a year later, I had written and published Irish.
Well,
which was my first romance.
Yeah, well, not many people can say that their first book was the first published. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So, have you been writing ever since?
Yes, nonstop. It feels like.
Nonstop. Well, I was going to say, I was looking at your website, and I'm familiar with some of your work, and so you have like a bazillion series with like a bazillion books in each series. What the hell? Do you just have an amazing
Something
work?
like that.
Yeah, do you have an amazing work ethic, or do you have some sort of secret? Are you magic? Are you a wizard?
Yeah, I wish. I wish. I keep waiting for my letter from Hogwarts.
Yeah.
No, I have a lot of editors who are standing behind me snapping a whip. So that's pretty much it. I get an idea and I run with it, and then I can't put the story down. Like, I am just wrapping up. I have one more, maybe another 1,000, 2,000 words of the 3rd Gods of DC series. And I literally have no idea how I got to this point, because a couple weeks ago, I was like maybe not even halfway through, and now I'm at the end of the book, and I keep checking my word count, and I'm actually at the end of the book, and I have no idea. I just keep writing this silly thing. So that's pretty much it. Every time I get a free moment, I write.
Well, I think that would be ideal for most writers. Like, at the end of the book, how did I get here? Because I mean, most of the time, it seems like it's not that way. It's like, oh my god, I feel like you're hammering through a granite wall to meet your daily word quota, or however the writer works. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, this is a rarity. Usually I'm to this point just wishing, I'm like, I don't care. I'm going to write, the letter A and just hold it for 4 pages. But this is a rarity that I've gotten to the end of the book, and I'm like, wait, I'm not done yet, but I am done, and I don't want to be done. And
What determines when you're done? Your publisher? Or your
No,
word
when my
count?
brain stops producing.
Oh.
When I get to a point where I just can't go any further, to me, the story's done.
Yeah.
So I just stop.
Well, I think that's a sign of a smart writer, too. Like, you don't want to stop before the story's done, but you sure as hell don't want to go any farther.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've read too many books where the writer has gone, I guess I suppose I should say further in this case, beyond the end of the story, and tried to pad it out just a little bit, and the book was not the better for it, shall we say? So
yeah, I agree.
no, so you were your first book published. How did getting that first book published? I guess this doesn't really make sense necessarily to ask somebody who had their first book published, but how did that change your approach to writing, or did it?
It gave me more of a purpose to continue on, because when I originally wrote Black Irish, I wrote it as a single standalone. There was no doubt in anybody's mind it was done. And being with a publisher, it was nice because I had someone who prodded and said, okay, well, I understand you think it's done, but you could continue to write this story about these people and create a series and bring more, create more momentum. And so it was kind of nice to have someone in my corner kind of prodding me along, or I might have just stopped at book one and continued on to book one of another book. And yes, I mean, it was nice to have someone in my corner to kind of keep pushing me.
So you work mostly in series, it looks like. Do you write any standalones as well?
The 13th Night is a standalone, and the Queen of Savon is a standalone. They were, I think, Innocent. So pretty much my historicals: Innocent Till Proven Guilty, the 13th Night, and the Queen of Savon are all standalones.
Okay. Now, when you're working in a series, what do you do? Is there something you can do to make sure that series stays fresh? Because I like to write in series, and I do find like the same situations coming up every now and then, like, oh, he's getting shot again, or that kind of thing. Is there something you do to keep that fresh? Maybe you're more imaginative. Put it that way.
Now, I have to admit, the content of the two most recent series, it's easy to be imaginative because honestly, I just ask myself the question, where could I possibly go from here? I mean, I have a family of werewolves and the Hollow Brothers, and like, okay, I'm writing MMA fighting werewolves, and they're like, well, we want book 2, and I'm like, okay, let's add in some vampires, and then it's okay, we want book 3, and I'm like, Egyptian magician, let's go for it. And then book 4, I think more werewolves. I mean, might as well, why have 7? Let's have a whole family.
Well, hell, I mean, you can't just have 1 or 2 werewolves, and that's ridiculous,
No, now we have full packs.
Right,
We're going big game here. And now with the 5th one, it's like, okay, where could I possibly go from here? And it's like, oh, mermaids. Let's throw some mermaids in.
Perfect. I mean, see, that's an advantage, I think, that people who write some more paranormal stuff have. Because my series isn't that. And so I'm like, if I went just threw a mermaid in, can you imagine?
Would be totally out of
like, what?
Yeah.
This makes sense. But you've already set up, the premise. So, I mean, you're good. You're good. Very smart. Talking about, writing series, writing scenes in books. Was there a scene that you can think of that was particularly difficult for you to write, either because it was technically difficult or just highly emotional?
Well, right now, anything that has to this is going to come bad from a romance writer, but right now, anything that has to do with anything in the bedroom is becoming difficult. So there's one.
Really?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, it's like, okay, when you're talking about being repetitive, there's my repetitive part. It's like, did I have them do this already once, or people? Yeah. It's like, okay, I'm not quite sure how I can make this sound any different than it did before. So
right.
Sorry, guys.
I think the good news is that when it comes to that, I don't think it necessarily matters as much, because
most people probably skim right by
right.
it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the required bedroom scene. Okay, everybody knows. The end result is always the same, mostly. Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah. Invert a few positions. It's pretty much the same thing.
Do you ever go back and read any of your own work? I find that kind of weird and creepy when I do that for myself. It's like, It's odd. There's something odd about it.
Every once in a while I'll pick up one of them and start reading them, and it's kind of weird because when you get so far out, I'm at number, I want to say 22 or 23 right now, and you pick up number 1. I just had to reread Black Irish in its rewrite. It's coming out in middle of this next month, and it was weird because it's like, is this really mine, and what was I doing? What was I thinking? And yeah.
Well, the good news is sometimes you can look back and see how far you've come. I know I do that with some stuff. I'm like, wow, that's actually really terrible. But the good news is I know that it's terrible. Like if I read something that I wrote a long time ago and could find no way to improve upon it, that's probably when I would start worrying,
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
When you're creating characters, and obviously you've created a bunch of them and you've developed a bunch of them, do you ever project, like, I don't know, your own habits, whims, quirks, eccentricities onto those characters? Either purposefully or not?
Yes.
Can you have
I
an
have a few
example?
characters I've been accused. Yes. I have a couple characters that I have been accused I did write myself. The mom in the hard drive series, Mary, is easily me. I had written the original book the heroine has the same disease my daughter does. And I had written the book kind of based on, not her, but based on a heroine that was similar. And people were like, yeah, no, the mom is you. We've actually seen you do that kind of thing. And then Mama Hollow. And I get a lot of people accusing me of being quite like Mama Hollow. So none of the heroines. I never went to the point of a heroine, but yeah, the mother figures, I got those down. Right. So.
Well, hey, I mean, the argument could be made that who do we know better than ourselves? So I mean, if you want to get to the point where you're writing a character that you know the most about. And I could even see someone doing that with a hero or heroine. The reason why they would do that is because they have the most insight. I think typically people do.
Yeah.
What is the? Yeah. Well, actually, so? Do you know exactly how many years you've been in the writing publishing industry?
Going on 7.
So it's been a little while. Yeah. What's one thing? One thing that pisses you off most about the industry, and what's one thing that you love most about it?
I'm going to start with love before I jump to the other one.
Good idea.
I love the inclusion. Yeah. I love the communities that I have become a part of. One of which is the one that I belong in with you, of the local writers that we know. Right. I've also I've got friends all over the world that I've made through book signings, I'm still close to several people in my first publishing house. So yeah, I've made all these connections and I have all these relationships, and it's that has been a huge benefit, and it makes what we have to do much easier when you have someone who understands what you're going through. Yeah. As far as things that piss me off, and we're getting it a lot right now. People who try to scam the business. I mean, I know that's a big deal right now. Just simple things. I mean, it's really, I guess to me, it's not, if you want to be part of this, you should be part of it like everybody. And there's so many people who just get into the business and they try to create drama. They're either trying to fly under the radar or they create drama. And then we have 2 months of people back and forth. And I guess I'm just, it's a really big sandbox, guys. We can all get along.
Right. Yeah. Are you familiar with one of the more recent ones, Cockygate? Do you hear about that?
Yes.
Yes.
I was actually part of a book fundraiser for the ones that had to fight that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
it was.
followed that with a good deal of interest and horror. I mean,
Yeah,
it was just insane. And
it
maybe
was. It
for
was.
people who don't know what we're talking about, is there a way that we can explain this without throwing anybody under the bus? Because I don't want to reignite any fires, but there may be people watching who aren't familiar with what we're talking about.
A particular author decided that she was going to trademark the word cocky. And not only trademark the word, but trademark the way it was used on a cover. I mean, in some certain cases, people do trademark words and names of things, like if it's a specific character or a specific series title. This was, if the word cocky was anywhere in a book, they were prepared to sue. And and this was in the romance world. So the word cocky comes up, well, shall we say a lot.
Right.
I would a lot. I would dare say if you could find one author who's never used that word, good luck.
Yeah,
we probably all have used it.
That would be like in my genre, thrillers, trying to you can't use the word shoot or gun or it would just be ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah. Cocky and words that are similar, we'll just say, are kind of a staple in my genre.
Yeah.
So, and it actually ended up pouring over not only into romance, but everybody from every genre across the board got involved. And the real reason is because if somebody starts, trademarking a word like cocky, who is to say somebody in the thriller world doesn't copyright shoot? Well, now every thriller writer in the world has to pay you money, or change that word.
It was just so absurd. I mean, the thing is, like, the woman, the author who was doing this, she was doing all right.
Yeah,
and she had a fan base. She was selling books, and it's not like it was going to. There were a lot of people trying to take her down prior to her trying to do this, by the way. I mean, she made a lot of enemies, and it was kind of her undoing. If she had just continued to do her thing, everybody would have been fine. And I think it reflects back to what you said about the inclusion. The indie, especially the indie writer community, they are very inclusive, and they are very helpful, and they're very loving. So I think that is why they take it even more personally when somebody like that comes along and does something so blatantly like anti-community.
Yes.
Because yes, they can turn on you in an instant, but it's almost like a product of how much they care about the community. They're not. Yeah. There are some exceptions to this, but they're not just trying to be assholes. There's a reason for it. If you play by the rules and play nicely, you're gonna get, generally speaking, the support you're looking for. Nobody's going to target you. But anyway, moving to other things that piss us off. Do you read your own book reviews? And if you do, how do you deal with the bad ones?
No.
No, you don't?
I do occasionally when I feel I have a really strong spine. It's taken 7 years for me to read a bad review and go, well, okay, you didn't like it. Whatever, move on.
Yeah.
But probably I don't actively go seek them out. We'll call it that way. I should, because I have a lot of very devoted readers who I love, who I should be putting on my page and telling them how wonderful they are and how much I appreciate their reviews, because they're all good. But then, then I run into that 1-star person and it's like, curl up and ball and cry.
Yes, was it even worth it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose the counter to that would be that occasionally, I stress occasionally, run across somebody who might make a decent point in something that one could improve. I've had that a time or two. Mm-hmm. But honestly, the things that they have pointed out haven't been worth the stress of reading all the ones that were not constructive. And so I like you, I've gotten to I used to read every review, and I would I would check at least once a day.
Yep.
And obsess over them. But I've really gotten to the point where I can't say that I don't care, because I love reviews. I mean, reviews in many ways are the lifeblood of marketing your book. They're very important, and review teams and beta readers are awesome, and I love them. But I have gotten almost to a point where that's not my goal now, to get the next review. My goal has actually become to get the next book written. And that is, to me, a much healthier approach to the writing life. You know,
I agree.
I agree. Get the next thing out there. Just get back to work and do what you do, and the people who are supporting you will generally continue to do that. And the people who, there's always somebody out there who feels the need to rain on a parade. I've never understood that mentality, but they're out there, and there's nothing that we can do to stop them. And so why empower them by letting their words have power over those of us who are actually creating words, generally to edify, entertain, etc. It just doesn't make sense, nor is it any enjoyable. So you write romance, obviously, a lot of characters of the opposite sex. Do you find it difficult to write from the viewpoint of someone of the opposite sex? And if you do, what's the most difficult thing about that?
In certain cases, yes, I do. I do. There's sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just go, okay. And a lot of my guys are just jerks. You know, they start off as jerks. They're always diamonds in the rough.
Right. Yeah.
And because everybody likes the good bad boy. And I guess at that point, I don't. I just jump into their heads and I go. But there are certain times I do end up sitting back and going, well, would a guy really do this? And that's pretty much where I get to the most difficult part. I always second guess myself. Would a guy really think this way? Would a guy really do this? And so, and it's not like something you can actually go research other than ask a guy, you know, would you do this in this situation? So I go with it and hope. Being a romance writer, there's a particular time in my books that it is difficult to look from a guy's point of view. And I do have a lot of my books, at least one I probably has that particular time in a guy's point of view. So I just wing it. I shouldn't say wing it. I actually read other romance writers' books, including romance books written by guys. And then I kind of go from there.
There you go. Well, at least you say that you're interested in, you know, trying to figure out how a guy thinks, because there are a lot of romance writers who would argue that guys don't think. So at least you're granting us that. So
yeah. And it helps with my genre that I go where I go, because when I say that I have bad boys and they're usually jerks, I'm not saying that my friends don't. I'm not saying my friends are. The guys I know are the sweetest guys on the planet, but they're guys, and you get to see an insight. So when I spend time with them, I get to kind of see the inside of, you know, the inner workings of how guys are together. And how they react. And I love each and every one of them. But I mean, they're guys, and it's easy to kind of, you know, I kind of just absorb it, and I kind of get my information. I kind of get direct information from them. Like I said, they're the sweetest guys on the planet, despite, you know, what they do. Most people would not see them as the sweetest guys on the planet, but they are. And, but yeah, they're great. They know they're my inspiration. Sometimes they get a little skittish.
She's watching us.
She's watching. They forget what I do, and then they suddenly turn around and remember, and they're like, everybody shut up here.
Oh, that's going in a book.
That go in a book, and I'm usually nodding, and they're like, yeah. Okay.
Well, it's funny you mentioned how guys act with each other. This isn't particularly related. I just think it's funny where you talk about how, like, women interact with each other. They see each other. Oh, you look so great. Oh, I love the dress, man. And guys like, wow, you've gotten fat. It's like that rudeness between guys is like a male love language. It's very strange. So.
Yeah. Or my guys, they just start beating on each other, but they're all having fun, and it's like, okay. And usually the women in the room just sit back, shake their heads like, whatever.
Like, why are we putting up with these people?
You don't see us running up, taking each other down and stuff. We're. So how was your day?
Yeah. So it's one thing that you would give up to become a better writer. I know that's a broad question, but is there something that, how far would you go? Like we were talking about the rumors and, you know, many years ago of Paganini selling his soul to the devil to become a better violinist. How far would you go to become a better writer? Not that you need to become one, but we all in our own minds would like to be even better than we are, I think.
I don't know. I don't even go that far. I'd probably, and I'd already sacrificed enough of this as it is, probably sleep.
Oh,
I'd sleep, which is hard, but, you know, but I've done it a lot where I just not, you know, pull a 2-hour night to finish a book. And so, yeah, I probably would say sleep. And I like sleep, so. Yeah,
well, I mean, lack of sleep can turn you into the devil. I know that from experience.
Yes.
I'm sure.
I'm not friendly the next day.
I'm sure my kids often are like, why is Daddy such a crank? It's like, it's because I don't get any sleep. That's why.
Yeah.
I wasn't like this before. So, ever been fishing?
When I was little.
I'm just being stupid.
I got a great fishing story when I was little. So.
Oh, well, actually, okay. Let's segue right into it.
Well, when I was super little, my dad was teaching me how to fish, and I guess I was down the bank, and I got one, and I managed to reel the thing in and run down the rocks with my fishing pole, dragging the fish behind me. There wasn't a whole lot to take off the hook when I got there.
He's like, what? You caught a fish skeleton?
Yeah, pretty much. There were parts heading all the way down the rocks. I was proud of myself, but, you know, sure I wouldn't touch the thing to get it off, and yeah.
You know, they say a book dies every time it's made into a movie. Do you agree with that?
For the most part, I might lean that way. There have been a few that I know of that have been, you know, I don't believe so, only because, I mean, if you look at the Harry Potter phenomenon or Hunger Games or some of these, I think even though obviously they stray horrendously from the material, I think it brought people more in to read them. So they could make mine into a movie anytime. I wouldn't fight them.
Right, exactly.
But yeah, I just think somebody handed me a movie deal, I'd be like, yeah, sure, take it.
Yes, I know. Yeah, and that is the hypocrisy, because I've said that in the past. Like, that book is always better than the movie. Bleh. But yes, if somebody came along and offered to make one of my books out of it, I wouldn't, you know, stand on principle, right? And say, no, I'm sorry, I have to suffer for my art here and turn down your thousands and thousands of dollars. So
I'd be like, where do I sign and how fast?
Exactly. Like, so how dedicated am I to this smug, you know, belief? But now, to be fair, there are some movies that have just taken good books and completely just destroyed them. But yeah, no, I think we're on the same page. Pun intended. There.
Yeah, and there are even some movies that they destroyed that just, in the end, it got people to at least read the book. Yeah. So, well, yeah, in that case, it's good. But.
Yeah, I mean, you think about Harry Potter, and I'm trying to think, you know, prior to Harry Potter, not that many kids were reading giant tomes. You know what I mean? That got a lot of kids to read beyond their typical age or grade level. I mean, that was a fantastic result of the whole Harry Potter franchise. And so it can certainly work the other way.
Yeah, 2 of my 3 children have read them multiple times. They would read them and then reread them and then reread them. And My son's at least 8 or 10. I don't know where I'm looking at the couch where my daughter is at least two or three times. So,
And yes,
yeah.
and I've talked, to people who either they themselves or their children that Harry Potter has served as a sort of gateway drug. So and then they went on to like the Lord of the Rings or stuff like that. And like, oh my God, I mean, that's fantastic. I mean, to me, that's what a movie should do. I mean, it's like, it's like a bonus, and that loops back to its original source, which was the book, and they complement each other. One doesn't have to replace the other. But, I wish that could happen more often. How do you think concepts like it's kind of an obvious question, but I have a purpose behind it, like such as Kindle, eBooks, they've obviously changed the industry, but do you think it's like for better or for worse?
I'm mixed 50-50. The thing that I think I appreciate about the eBooks and the Kindle industry is that through Kindle, through eBooks, we discovered people were no longer ashamed to buy a book. I mean, that easiest explanation of that is 50 Shades of Grey. On face value, in a paperback, people were not going to buy that book because then somebody on the subway could see that you were reading smut.
No,
and there was no doubt that was smut.
Judgy McJudgersons on the subway or something,
Exactly. But if it was on an e-reader, nobody knew what you were reading. For all they knew, you were playing solitaire, and here you were reading Christian Grey in a red room, and it opened up that world that people didn't have to be afraid of what they were reading, so they were buying more. And then we got to things like Smashwords and KDP, and then it opened up a whole new realm of all of these people who couldn't get even near a publisher or near a agent to promote their work and get noticed. Suddenly didn't matter. You could just do it. Get somebody to edit your book, find a way to make a cover, and you had a shot. So it opened such a huge world. On the other hand, then that's when you got the people who are going and putting in the 99-cent books, and people want 99-cent books, and people want free books, and they're not looking for quality anymore. They're looking for the biggest bargain. And so for a while it was very pure, and then it got corrupted, and I mean the ebb and flow of things. So I mean, and that's certainly just the natural, I don't know, when you say the pendulum swing of you want to say progress, I don't know. I guess it's progress. It's certainly technological progress. Whether or not it's best for society, I suppose, remains to be seen. There's an element to me that objects to things like Kindle because I love paper. I love the feel of a real book. I love the smell of a real book. I love the experience of reading. But I'm also a realist, and a Kindle or some related device, a lot of people read on their phones. You can carry your entire library. I mean, hell, you have access to the knowledge of the world in your pocket. And that, it doesn't make sense to eschew that just simply because you're a purist about books. I mean, that's a silly thing. Plus, it's allowed a lot of people to read when they couldn't. I mean, you were talking about just the appearance of the books, but hey, I mean the pricing. I mean, a paper books. I mean, hardcover, new releases hardcovers. You're spending $35 on one book. You can buy a library. On your on your Kindle, and so it really made reading available in larger quantities to a larger number of people. And I'm not saying that doesn't come with not that particularly, but the technology itself doesn't come with some pitfalls, because it certainly doesn't. You mentioned some of them, and you were talked about it very eloquently, and I agree with you. But it played, and you touched on this too, it played such a vital role in removing the gatekeeper from the industry. And that's been so vitally important, not just for the industry, but I think for us
as a society getting to the point where we no longer have a select group of people in, say, New York deciding what we're going to read on any given day. We have access to such a broad range of topics and genres and types of literature, and I can only see that as a good thing, regardless of the method or the mode. I mean, the old-fashioned part of me still wants a book, but I certainly wouldn't roll back the clock if I had the opportunity to do so.
And I'm glad to see that the print industry is coming back.
Right.
That people are starting to get to the point where they are happy to have they want the paperback again. So I'm really happy to see that.
Well, yes. I mean, I guess it gives a new level to the adage: "A rising tide lifts all boats." Mm-hmm. And I think in this particular instance, that has proven true once more. And yeah, you're right about paperbacks. I've noticed it just in my own stuff where more paperbacks are being moved, whereas it wasn't that long ago where I wouldn't sell any paperbacks. Everybody was buying the Kindle version. It's still the majority of sales, but I have noticed a renewal of interest in those, and that makes me happy. So maybe you can have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah, me too. I have a lot of readers who are begging for the Black Irish series in print, so I'm so excited. I'm going to be giving it to them, and it's awesome. So I'm glad to see it's back that way.
Yeah. Do you think it's more challenging to write about beliefs that you hold, or ones that conflict with the ones that you hold?
I think the ones that I hold, because if I'm going to write about the beliefs that I hold, I want to make them as true and as clear and as concrete as I can. And I'm always terrified I'm going to fall through with that. Not saying that it isn't important to do it on the other side, but the other side requires a little bit of research so that when you're doing it, in that case, you're writing more facts. You're writing more, this is what I have learned versus this is what I believe. Because I'm always afraid when I write something about what I believe, I'm missing steps. Because I'm so passionate about what I believe that I just ramrod through. And we're on the opposite side. I'm going carefully. I'm writing down what, I'm writing what I've learned through concrete research. Mm-hmm. So I have a tendency when I start writing and it's about something I'm passionate about that I just go. And then I realize when I'm finished, I missed this point, and this point. And sometimes, unfortunately, it's when it's already published. It's already been published and it's already out there. And I'm like, missed that and kind of need it. And, you have to start weighing, was it really important? Do I have to pull the book off the market, add it in, or pray my editor doesn't scream when she finds it's in there? Or, it's just, so to me, it's easier to write from the opposite side because at least then I'm just, this is point A, this is point B, this is point C versus this is what's in my heart and I need to pull it all up and put it all together. So.
Does writing as a process or as an activity, I guess I should say, does that energize you or exhaust you?
Usually exhausts me. I usually just get all in and go for it. And when I'm done, I'm just wiped. I need like a few minutes. I have a few like mind games on my, solitaire. I just downloaded Word Crossing not that long ago. And I actually need them every once in a while when I'm in the middle of writing, just as like a down moment to stop writing, just to kind of recharge myself, to keep going, because I just get going and going and going. And when I'm done, I just feel like I've run a marathon.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It wipes me out.
Does your family know that once you're done for the day, not to crowd you? Are they respectful of that? Do you understand that? Or how does that process work?
Yes, because I do it when they're in bed.
Oh,
I usually
gotcha.
either don't do it when I'm at home or I do it when I'm in bed or they're in bed. So I'll take that few hours. Well, it used to be that way. It's a little less now. I'm learning to adapt to a new body, so to speak, still. And due to some bumps in the road not that long ago. And so it actually helps me to, I write during my lunch break, I write before work, I write directly after work. And then those moments, you know, I've got the quiet so that I can come home and basically have home time be home time, because usually by the time I'm done with all that, I'm out. I'm just toast. And so not much else gets done. So
In terms of content, do you try to be more original, or are you more interested in giving readers what they want or what they know and are familiar with?
I try to be more original. I like to surprise them. It's kind of fun to read the reviews. I mean, I know I said I don't usually read reviews, but there's a handful of people that I wouldn't miss a review. If you know, the minute I know they've got the review up, I'm there. I'm reading it because I adore them. And they're the best reviewers ever. And they're my actual feedback. I know I treasure what they tell me. And if they tell me I'm off, I know I'm off. If they tell me I'm on, I know I'm on. And I like to keep them on their toes.
Yeah.
It's fun. Bantamweight, which, my newest Hello Brothers, that was fun because most of them are my betas. And I threw that. I don't think I had told them very much that I was putting mermaids in there. That was a little bit of a shock.
Well, when you can surprise your betas, who are the people who know you best in terms of being a writer, then that's pretty good.
I think one or two of them, I just sent a quick message, what do you think about mermaids? And they were like, wait, what?
Why?
I said, what would you think if I added a mermaid or two into the Hollow Brothers? They're like, at this point, they're like, go for it. You know, right. What are you going to do wrong?
First of all, we've read her stuff, she's probably going to do it well. Secondly, if we told her no, probably wouldn't stop her anyway. So yeah, hell, go ahead. Have at it.
See what happens. Another great example is they'll read Gods of DC. And I always hear, oh, you have to do, and they'll pick a god out of the book. And I'm like, no. So out of nowhere, it'll be the next. And I usually try to pick one that's got a rather strong presence in the book that I'm writing.
Oh, yeah.
And they'll be like, but they always end up picking the wrong one. So it's like, they're like, you have to do Pan. I did Athena. So, and a lot of people know now. What was it in Love and War? There was one they brought up. They're like, you got to do them. I did Demeter, and then I threw a curve in Demeter, and yeah, they've learned now just to say, go for it. You just got to go.
Yeah. Good.
But yeah,
whip them into shape.
Yeah, but I like original content. I like to keep people on their toes. So.
Good. Yeah. All right, this is probably a good place to end it. Tricia Anderson, thanks so much for joining us here on Games and Writers. I really enjoyed talking with you. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. This is great. I had a lot of fun.
Good. We'll talk again soon. Thanks.